This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
What do you think?
I'm going the other way. I think it'll be 3-2 for them.
Back us, mate. Come on, I need your support. Back to the social media derby. We've got a really it's going to be a good episode for me anyway coming up this week. Man United off the back of a win 3-0 at Everton, Arsenal coming off the back of a win 1-0 at Brentford, and then we got some fixtures to preview in a really busy week for both of our teams in the Premier League and Champions League. But before we crack on with the episode, just want to call out, as usual, for those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it if you can, comment down below. Last week's episode was really, really fun when we did the International 11. So, try and watch last week's episode if possible. Give us your feedback. I feel like I had a really strong team. Jonty had a pretty decent team as well. So just let us know who you would have picked. For those of you listening on Spotify, Apple, or any of the other podcasting platforms, please follow. Give us a review if you can. 5 stars would be much appreciated. But if you don't rate us, then please leave those reviews as well. Let's get on with the episode. How you doing, John? You good, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. It was a pretty decent day of football today, at least. The 2 games that I was watching.
Yeah. The Spurs-Villa game was absolutely mental. Don't know how Spurs lost that game. That was Roy Keane said it in the studio. He said, "Oh, that defending Spursy," and it was so Spursy. I don't know how they lost the game because they absolutely peppered Villa, and Villa kind of only looked good in the last 20, 25 minutes maybe, but the rest of it, Spurs could have been clear. So that was a mad game. And then let's get on to the second of those games: Everton 0, Man United 3. It's a bit of a weird one, but not in as drastic as of a sense as kind of like most of United's fixtures have left me feeling for the rest of the season, because I actually feel like the stats make it look like Everton completely peppered us, but they basically only had a 20-minute spell in the back end of the second half where we looked a bit shaky, but I don't think they missed any sitters. They had chances to get shots on target or do better with shots. I can remember Calvert-Lewin had a couple headers, but even those weren't perfectly open goals or easy ones that he should definitely score, that he kind of missed. I think Decore had a shot where he could have done a lot better. And Kobe Mainu cleared a ball off the line, which was, I think, probably their closest shout for a goal. But apart from that, we were just so clinical. Obviously, the Garnacho goal was out of this world, but then even the other 2 goals, there was really nice interplay between Bruno and Martial in the second half, which led to both the penalty and Martial's goal. That started to maybe reminisce a little bit back to some of our peak Ole Gunnar Solskjaer counter-attacking days, where you just see Bruno, laying a pass off to Martial and he lays it back, doing little 1-2s, nice intricate play. And so from that perspective, I think our attack looked a lot less impotent than it has been recently. It looked like every time we attacked, we could score. And I think we had 3 shots on target and we scored 3 goals, obviously, from those 3 shots. So we were really, really clinical. But it'd be good to get your opinion, John. What did you think of the game?
I mean, I think you guys should be happy with the result, obviously. I don't think it was... I don't think necessarily Everton deserved anything from the game, but I definitely feel like they had a lot of kind of half chances maybe that they could have got something from, but it was even that last the added time in the second half, you could see they were just trying to like force the ball into the net. A lot of things just pinging off of different people kneeing things into Onana parrying it away and stuff like that. So, I mean, for you guys, I think it should be a really positive result. Everton obviously steaming after the minus 10-point deduction, and like we were talking about in the last episode, they were definitely coming up to this game like kind of full of anger and vitriol towards the league, and I think you guys dealt with it really, really well. Obviously, the overhead kick in the first 3 minutes
that
helped to kind of dampen the mood there, and I think everyone was just stunned, including United players and Garnacho himself. And then from there on out, you guys were just really clinical. I think, as you said, right, 3 shots on target, 3 goals. I mean, one of those was a shot on target from out of nowhere. I think the XG on that would have been extremely, extremely low. And so I think,
they said it was 0.08 XG on Garnacho's goal. So it was,
which even sounds a bit high there. Like,
exactly.
given the method that he tried to use to score the goal, I think the XG would have gone down even further, because obviously XG is just taken into account where it is in the pitch, right? But yeah, no, I think you guys, you should be really happy with that result. I think you should be happy with a clean sheet. I think Everton are going to have this problem, and probably have been having this problem already, is that they just don't have anyone clinical to come in and slap goals. If like Calvert-Lewin's not in and firing, so it's a team that's, it's a hard sell to try and get a goal past the opposition for Everton. So I do think they will be safe in the end. I do think there's enough quality in that team to get over the line, but against United, as much as we all joke and make jokes about you guys not being very good, you're a caliber of opposition that you're not just going to be able to force goals past them. And I think that kind of showed in the game, right? Everton just didn't quite have enough quality to really get anything on the score sheet. So for you guys, I think it should be a positive result to take. I think there are a lot of good performances from some youngsters in your team. I think you can't be upset with a 3-0 win away at Everton.
Yeah, no, it's a hard place to go generally. You guys have struggled at Everton, historically. A lot of big teams have struggled. City have struggled there. It's obviously, Liverpool, the Scousers are up for it. If they feel hard done by, they're even more up for it, which obviously I feel like we all kind of acknowledge that 10 points is a bit stiff of a penalty for what they've done. But when you hear more of the background about the situation, I kind of understand maybe where the Premier League and the independent committee were coming from, because apparently they've basically been doing real-time reporting to the Premier League for the last 12 months, 18 months or something, and the Premier League's been warning them non-stop, you might want to be careful with this transfer or that transfer. You might want to be able to, try and get a bit more money.
It's no secret that they're a terribly wrong club as well. I think we all kind of know, even Everton fans are not exactly happy with their leadership. So it kind of feels like just desserts, but at the same time, when you look at some other teams in the league and some other rumours coming out, I feel like if they're just handing out 10 points for that immediately, then some other teams are in some real trouble.
And everyone's like Tottenham's transfers from 2007 are getting investigated. Chelsea's stuff, apparently they've opened their books up when Todd Bowley took over. They've also said, look, these look like dodgy dealings in part from the past that they may get penalized for as well. City are obviously fighting it with their 100 million charges or whatever it is. So it's a bit of a dangerous precedent, which I understand. So I understand why Everton have feel the way they do, and that's why I was a bit stressed about this game, even more so because obviously I think we recorded last week's podcast before the news came out, or I think the news had just come out, and it has been building throughout the week, and then obviously there was the plane flying over the City and Liverpool game yesterday as well. So it just felt like there was the narrative XG, as Lincoln likes to say, that we mentioned frequently, was mad high on this game for us to just catch an absolute spanking. But yeah, as you said, no one can account for an unbelievable worldie being scored in the first 5 minutes. We very rarely score early goals. We even more rarely score overhead kicks. You know what I mean? Like at the last one, I can remember the Sky guys literally just played that Rooney overhead kick about 50 times in all the breaks and in the post match analysis, because we just don't, they're not many that scored in the Prem generally.
Yeah, but I mean, we've
Not that many by
also
us,
just
so.
seen like risky goals like that go down over time
Exactly,
as the last, like, let's say 5-10 years, we've started to see fewer and fewer long range shots, risky kind of overhead kicks like that as well. So it's nice to see, as much as it's you guys doing it, it's nice to see that teams are still trying the things that kind of made a lot of people fall in love with football, right? And I saw
Yeah.
everyone is like, when I was looking on X, it feels like everyone, not just Man United fans, have been waiting for something like this to happen, because as soon as the goal went in, everyone was like, Puskas Award, goal of the season. Everyone's
Yeah.
going nuts. Like, it's
Yeah.
been so long since we've
We've been
seen.
starved of a class goal like that, haven't we?
Exactly, like this season, I'm
Yeah.
thinking like maybe the Matoma goal where he just runs through everyone and scores, like the Isak goal last season where he again runs through everyone and scores. But yeah, it's been a long time coming to see like an absolute worldie, and it was a worldie. So
Yeah. I
Garnacho,
hear
if he
you.
does get a prem goal of the season, I think he probably will deserve it quite a lot, because that one was going away from him as well. It was,
Yeah.
I don't know how he
Jeez.
managed to get a foot on that and get it back past Pickford, who I'm selfishly quite happy to see it go past.
Yeah, for once I found Gary Neville's co-coms actually proper hilarious, because he was making fun of how he was like, oh, at half time Roy Keane's going to be blaming the goalie for that one and saying he should have saved it and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was quite funny. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, those worldies like the Son one, the Ronaldo one, like you said, the Isak one from last season, Matoma, where people are like, dribbling through people and jinky majinky in it. Those are great goals and all. Um, but there's just something like, just, it feels like artistic about a strike like that. Like it's just such a difficult piece of skill to pull off. And yeah, it's just people don't try it anymore. You're right. Like people go now for the high percentage chances. You see it, the cut back or the back post cross or whatever is the most common goal scored. I think probably now if you look at the stats. So seeing a goal like that, I did look at Twitter X or whatever you want to call it, and the instant outpouring of just love was mad. And Man United are so hated generally, by rival fans at least. It was quite weird. It was an uncomfortable feeling to be like, everyone's like, oh my God, Garnacho, what a goal of the season, what a goal, unbelievable. It was like a strange feeling. But I have to say, it's going to take one amazing goal to beat that for goal of the season. I mean, Puskas is a bit hard because, there's crazy goals going on around all over the place in the world. But yeah, Premier League wise, our league, like we just said, you're probably not going to see too many goals that rival that. And I think it's no coincidence that it's a player like Garnacho, a young player who's quite brave. He hasn't probably been coached heavily, by one of the top coaches for as long as some of the other ones. So he's got still a little bit of that kind of off the cuff um, kind of attitude to football, which can be frustrating sometimes because, you know, if you go by XG, if he does that 100 times, he scores it 8 times. And like you said, I think that's probably being, a bit kind. More likely, it's like a 1 out of 100 type goal, if not more. He's going to shank it and put it in row Z, and we're all going to be saying, Garnacho, what the F were you trying doing that? But he scored it, and it did kind of settle the crowd down, I have to say, and we needed it because, like, we are quite vulnerable at the moment. I definitely think scoring that early goal and the way it went in, like the fact it was like literally a stunning goal that stops people in their tracks, I think helped us. But we definitely made it difficult for ourselves in the last 20 minutes. We were inviting them onto us. I think they ended up having 24 shots. I mean, a lot of them were like pot shots at the end as well that got that stat up. Like they were just literally shooting from everywhere and not really getting anything anywhere near the target by the end. But they definitely put us under pressure. But I agree with you. I think the best performers, or the ones who had the most consistent performance in the game, was Mainu. I think was man of the match. I'm not going to go ham and do all the overhyping stuff that you guys like to do with Saliba and all that. But I think I think he looks like a good player, man. Like I think he looks like a prospect.
Don't try to
And
drop that comment and run away. All right.
no, I'm not running away. I
Don't try.
stand behind it.
Don't say that.
I
Don't
stand
even try to
behind it.
put a Mainu who's had like 2 minutes on the pitch in Saliba's
Come
category.
on, you
But
guys were
we'll move
doing
on.
that after 4 games of Saliba. Let's be
And
real.
and and
Man U fans are doing it now too, but I'm
and
not
now
doing
you're
it.
doing it off of one 72-minute performance
No,
of
I'm not
Mainu.
gonna.
All right.
No,
So
I'm
stick
not doing
yourself
it.
in that crowd, son.
No, I'm not doing it. I think he looks like a good prospect, man. But you know what? It's actually a damning indictment of the rest of our midfielders. Because Mainu looked like the experienced one. He was like telling Scott McTominay, "Move over there, mate. Go there." Like he was directing people. And I know part of that position, the like deeper lying six, is to do that kind of stuff anyway. But I I just think he looked quite calm and composed considering it was his first Prem start. And there'd been some buzz around him. He obviously was played quite heavily in pre-season. Um, and there was some buzz around him, and then he obviously got injured, and then has kind of been stopped in his tracks a bit. But I thought he was really good. I thought Garnacho. I think Bruno was a bit harsh on him in the post-match interview, saying he wasn't that great and he needs to improve. Like obviously he could have been better, but I actually thought in the first half he was our, alongside Mainu was our, one of our other better performers. He was doing a lot of good chasing, closing down, and he really put their right back under a lot of pressure. So I thought those guys were probably the best performers in consistently throughout the period that they played. I think in the second half, Martial played a lot better. He was holding the ball up and it was sticking on him a little bit better than it was in the first half. I think Bruno was a little bit more composed in the second half. In the first half, he was just doing stupid Bruno stuff, and it was really frustrating. But in the second half, he kind of got his head screwed on and started to do more simple things, and it really, really worked. And the little, 1-2s and stuff really paid dividends. Rashi obviously got the pen. He got his Havertz, sympathy pen. You could see he wasn't that happy about it either, was he? He was like,
got his UNICEF charity penalty.
exactly. But I mean, he stuck it away beautifully. Like I put it top bins, but it was, Bruno obviously gave it to him because and it's so annoying because honestly, he was the player that I was screaming at the telly about in the first half because he was just doing stupid stuff again, like running down blind alleys, just losing the ball and not even trying to chase back and just being really frustrating. But as soon as he scored the goal, he automatically looked a lot more dangerous. And like every time he ran at a defender, it's like he automatically got confidence from that pen. So it's really frustrating to like see such a visible change in his his effort levels, his attitude, and his overall performance just based on one penalty. Like it shouldn't be that conditional, if you get what I mean. Like I understand confidence is a thing, but come on, mate. Like you've been given a 300,000+ contract a week. The coach believes in you. You know the fans love you. Apart from Goldbridge and United stand, people love him. So it's a bit annoying, but he was a bit better in the second half. Lindelof was really frustrating, and I think a lot of the worry in the first half came from Calvert-Lewin on him because he's just bullied him so much. Like every time the ball got hoofed up, Calvert-Lewin just attached himself to Lindelof and won every battle. And I can't understand how Ten Hag could think Lindelof and Maguire was a better shout than Varane, because automatically Varane would have, is a lot taller, like you said before in the pod. He's surprisingly more physical than you expect. Like him and Maguire would have surely been a better combo, but obviously, they've had their falling out. But yeah, it was like you said, there were some good, performers in the game. I still don't think, I agree with Roy Keane's analysis and your analysis just now. Like, it's a good result. I think it's the biggest scoreline we've won by in the Prem this season. We're now outside of negative goal difference, which is positive. That's always a good thing. But the performance still wasn't great. That 20-minute patch, if it was a good team, they would have absolutely battered us in that 20 minutes. You know what I mean? If that was a Liverpool, a City, even you guys getting more and more clinical, you would have scored at least a couple goals in that period, and it would have, maybe the game would have been a little bit different because we don't deal well with adversity. But yeah, I'm just happy we got out of it with a win. Now we've got 2 more difficult away days in the week coming up, but it's it's only a good thing if we win, and we're still the most informed team in the Prem. So Take that, mate.
Speaking of going early on things, yeah.
It's not my fault. Play BBC Sport. They're the ones who put that.
They've got you got to clutch onto something, right?
Exactly.
I'm leaving here with something.
Exactly.
Right? So, but I think, you answered most of the questions I kind of had anyway. But I think the main question I wanted to get at is that if Mainu is, man of the match for that performance and like looking like he's significantly more experienced than the actual experienced midfielders in your team. Do you see him getting more of a run out? Do you think the youngsters in general should get more of a run out? Because you look at as much as you get a Rashford penalty and a Martial goal at the end. The two star performers have got to be Garnacho with the overhead kick and then Mainu with a kind of a more dominant or let's say experienced level-headed performance in midfield. They're both youngsters. So do you think they should get more of a run out? Because I think we've asked this question before and it doesn't seem like anything really changes until you get into the dire straits of, having too many injuries and not actually being able to play any of your other choices. So do you think even when people like Casemiro and whoever else comes back into your team, do you still think that people like Mainu, Garnacho, Pellistri, Medri should all get more of a run out in your team?
Yeah, I definitely do, 100%. I think Garnacho has been getting more of a run in the starting 11 over the last couple of weeks. I know that's probably because of some injury stuff and whatever, but he's looked more at it than he has when he's previously had those kind of chances. And I'm not just doing a reactionary thing off the back of him scoring the overhead kick. Like he's been looking better in games recently, and it looks like he's kind of ready to take on the mantle and at least try and chip in with some goals and assists and good performances. Mainu, I think probably Ten Hag originally planned for him to be in that midfield, not necessarily starting week in week out, but bedding him into the team. Obviously, the plan for McTominay was to sell him, so that's a bit of a U-turn. But I definitely think, Mainu, if he plays like that, man, you've just got to play him. Like, what can I say? Like, it's not only the way he was calm and controlled, but he could take the ball with his back to goal, with his back to play, and like shield it. And he just did what you expect a midfielder to do. You know what I mean? He was doing body movement and shimmying and feinting and doing stuff to try and, keep hold of the ball in the six. And that's what you want your six to do. You don't want them to just get the ball and do a Hollywood pass all the time. You want them to keep it ticking over, right? Like, I've seen a lot of discourse online around the whole Declan Rice stuff, right? Which we can talk about later on. But the beauty and the reason why I think Declan Rice was a great signing at 105 million is he does all the simple stuff really well. Like, he doesn't really give the ball away. He keeps it ticking over all the time. And then what you've seen recently is, validation that he can actually go forward and chip in with goals and do other things, right? And then he's obviously, got, the whole spirit and leadership stuff that it looks like he has as well. But the fundamentals is he's not really a flashy player, right? Like, he just does a lot of the simple things really well. And he's really important to your team. Having him there, I think, is a lot better. And you'll probably admit than not having him there, right? Since he's joined the team. And obviously, I'm not setting Mainu those kind of targets because Declan Rice is really established. He's been in the league for 5-6 years or something. And he's, full international. And I think he earned that price tag, that 105 million transfer. And I'm not saying Mainu's, close to that level or anywhere near it. But I'm just saying, like, we haven't got a midfielder or haven't seen a midfielder in that role this season, probably even last season, because I don't think Casemiro really plays that way, that could do that job. Like, all of our midfielders seem to want to do more with the ball. And I can understand why we brought in Amrabat, but bloody hell, as soon as he came on, he started just giving the ball away. And the thing that's really infuriating about Amrabat is he doesn't try Hollywood passes. He just gives the ball away doing simple passes. So, I was a big advocate for him, but if you compare Mainu to Amrabat, it's like chalk and cheese, isn't it? Like, Mainu was literally making all those passes. And then also, there was one pass that he did where he was like heading back to his goal on the touchline. and he just like swiveled on it and reversed a high ball over Everton's defence on that right hand side for Bruno to basically go straight through to do a cutback, and Bruno popped up the cutback. He tried to go for Garnacho at the far post, but it was something like it wasn't like a amazing piece of technical skill, but it was just showed like a really high football IQ, and you're like, okay, like that kind of seems like an amazing thing to do, but when you look at it a little bit more analytically, you realize that was a really simple thing, and we just haven't had people to do those simple things for a while. So I'm one of those people that believes if he keeps playing like that, you obviously bed him in. I think taking him off after 70 minutes or whatever was the right idea, but keep playing him because we don't have evidence that our other midfielders can do that. Yeah, Scott McSauce can score goals, and that's great. Casemiro's been run past by everyone in this season so far, and he's been able to score goals. But that's not really the traits that you want from a central, like defensive midfielder. You want someone who's not going to get run past all the time. You want someone who's going to receive the ball and not be so easily pressed and harried, and be able to shield it and move it and tick it along into the next third of the field. And from what I saw of him in pre-season and what he showed in this little 70-minute cameo, it certainly looks like he's got the ability to do that. It's whether he can do it consistently. So I'd keep playing him. And I think bringing on a Medjbri or someone like that, Hannibal's good to come off the bench. He's got energy. He's got work rate. He sticks a boot in. I like this crop of youngsters that we've got in the team right now. I think they've all got the ability to play a part in the squad, and time will tell whether or not they're good enough for a first team berth. And I include Garnacho in that. Like, he can score an overhead kick, and he can score a few goals that he's done. But that's part of his game. But it's whether or not he can do it more frequently. But I like him, man. I like him. I keep playing him. I'd rather get rid of some of the other squad players that have been knocking about and not really proven it, and give those guys, the room to grow and see where they go. But they certainly look decent at the moment. And yeah, I mean, it's a bit mad to throw Mainu in for his debut away at Everton when we're not really playing that well. They've got all of this adversity that's really riling them up, and he dealt with it really well. So yeah, it's good, man. I'm not going to do what the United fans are doing on Twitter, because you're right, they are going absolutely overboard. But I think, yeah, you got to play him, man. I think he looks good, and we're not blessed with amazing midfielders, right? Like Amrabat looks like a bit of a flop now. Mason Mount is injured again for a month. Casemiro's injured. I mean, who else do we have? Scott McSauce. He's more attacking. We've talked about that, so we don't have tons of options. So I'd just say play him and let's see how it goes. But yeah, really really happy with the win. Really happy with the attacking performance, I would say, in terms of being clinical. Definitely could use some work in terms of the composure. Who actually, a couple of other players deserve a little bit of a shout out, not because they were amazing, but I think Luke Shaw was really good on his return. You could see how much we missed him from a left back perspective, not having him there. As soon as he left, and we brought on Wan-Bissaka and Dalot swapped to left back, you could tell there was difference, couldn't you? So let's see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to it. Let's move on to Arsenal now, though, because I think I've answered all the rest of your questions anyway with my waffling. Arsenal win 1-0 away at Brentford. What did you make of the game? Because there was a couple of high-profile team changes. So what do you player changes? What did you make of the performance and the result?
I'm probably going to sound like I'm just hitting on the same note every single time, but not a great performance, but the result that we want, right? And I hesitate to say anything. There's a term that comes up frequently about that's a title winning type of performance where you don't play well but win. I'm not going to say that because obviously we did that last season and we didn't win the title. So it's difficult to use that term when we're talking about Arsenal right now, but it's the kind of performance that we've had. It's the only reason that we're top of the league right now. And I don't want to say top of the league like that's some massive achievement, because obviously it's only 12 games, 13 games into the season. So it's the only reason why we're doing well at the moment, which is not a good performance, but we win. And I think that game fully encapsulated that term. Not a good performance, but we won. So, I mean, obviously Ramsdale had to come in to swap out for Raya because of the clash of obviously the loaning club not being allowed, not allowing the player to play. So we had to start Ramsdale. And yeah, I mean, like that's what a lot of the talk was all around. It was quite clear. The camera kept on looking at Ramsdale and then looking at Raya and then looking at Ramsdale and looking at Raya. It's the same old stuff that happens every single time. And I think he nearly made it a hell of a lot worse with that kind of hesitation on the ball that led to for him to be dispossessed really like in his own box. And luckily for him, Rice has his head screwed on, is relatively smart to get his straight onto the line as soon as he saw that happening and managed to clear it away. And so, yeah, I mean, like outside of that, you know, the offside goal and then our goal in like late in the game, there wasn't a lot really going on with that match, right? It's the same old story of the opposition just setting up to not allow us to play our style. And I mean, Arteta even alluded to it in his post-match interview, which is sometimes teams don't let you play what you want to play. And I know there's an excuse to say, oh, you shouldn't allow them to decide what style of play you play. But at the end of the day, we haven't found a way to just enforce our style on teams yet, especially ones of some quality. And I think Brentford do fit into that category as much as they don't have Hollywood names all over their starting 11. They've definitely got enough quality there to give teams a hard game, right? They haven't had the best start to the season, obviously, but their plan worked, right? It wasn't easy for us to break them down. We didn't have a huge amount of kind of clear chances. Even the offside goal was a bit piecey. It was like, you know, the typical Trossard type of goal where he just somehow gets a header in on the line and then gets knocked out and smashed into the post. It's happened a couple of times already this season. So generally speaking, from my point of view, not a lot to say about that game. We won it, and I want to move on. Right, like the offside. I know you're going to ask me a question about that, so we may as well get it out of the way. Do I think it was an offside? I'm not sure because it depends on which angle you look at it from. Right. Obviously, they went and took another 5 minutes to look at everything. And from some angles, it does look offside. From other angles, it doesn't look offside. And it depends on which one you choose. Basically, which side of the ball is the angle coming from. It looks onside or offside. If you're ahead of the ball, it looks offside. If you're behind the ball, it looks onside. So it's a real confusing one. They obviously went and took, 3 to 5 minutes to try and make the decision. To me, is it clear and obvious? No. If it takes you 5 minutes to figure it out, it's probably not clear and obvious. But again, I don't know if they even apply clear and obvious to the offside rule. Now it's just, is it offside or not in their eyes? So I'm not going to complain about it all that much because we ended up winning the game. Had we not got that late winner, maybe I would be a little bit more upset about that. But again, I don't think it was clear and obvious one way or the other. So it's really difficult for me to really argue whether I thought it was offside or not. What did you make of that offside and the general performance?
Yeah, it's a weird one because the offside stuff. If you remember that when the Harry Maguire offside against Fulham, right? Like I think that's the only time when that even comes into question, right? Like because it needs to be a subjective offside, and I don't think that Trossard goal falls into that category. But I agree with you. That angle just didn't look like the right one to draw the lines on and to make that judgment. And I read some stuff online like questioning why they drew the line from the ball as well, because apparently they should be drawing the line from Jesus. And for some reason they drew the line from the ball. So you know what, man? We do this every week and we always get all riled up, and generally the refs and PGMOL hold it from us, but I have no idea. But it is one of those situations. I wouldn't want to like dwell on it. You won the game in the end. The person who scored the winning goal probably ended up, it's probably someone who you wanted to score the goal more maybe than Trossard for his confidence. So, yeah, just keep it pushing. It wasn't a great game. We watched it together. We both weren't really enthralled by it. We were doing other things as we were watching it. So it wasn't the best of games. But Brentford, they're smart. They know how to play against the bigger sides or the ones who they're, underdogs against. And they generally go for a counter-attacking style. And you guys just didn't look like you had anything, really. But one thing I did read as well, and it's true, it's a trend. Saka's back post cross is cash money. The amount of goals you score from Saka, obviously the ball is good. It's not just like a spam ball, but he whips that ball into the back post, and you've always got someone there. At Chelsea it was Trossard. This time it was Havertz. You wish it was Hazard, Havertz, and it could be Nketiah, it could be Jesus. You've always got someone, so it's clearly something you work on. It's clearly something you guys like pick and choose the timing to do it. It tends to, you scored quite a lot of late goals from that play. So yeah, it shows some tactical strength, and it's good, man. I think it's positive. It's like you said, you're top of the league now, so you can start the whole. These are the kind of games you want to win if you win the title, and it makes sense. It's true. It's a cliche, but generally, when teams won the league, they've had a bunch of these kind of games where they squeeze it out in the end. So I think you guys had a good game, but a good performance, good result. Sorry, not performance or game. But you had some changes in the team, so I feel like getting away from there is a good result. Brentford away at a night fixture. I know it wasn't technically a night because it was like 5 o'clock or whatever, but because of the darkness of winter here, it's basically a night game. That's not one you want to do. Like you've got slapped there one time at night. I think we actually beat them at night one time, but we got battered during the day. But whatever. A lot of teams, Liverpool have gone there in a night match and got battered. A bunch of teams have gone there and really felt it from Brentford in the night games. The crowd really gets up for it. So I think you should be happy with that. But what did you make of
Thomas Franks? I mean, Thomas Franks built a good team, man. Like he goes effective. Under the radar. They're an effective team.
Yeah.
I mean, again, they're doing this without Tony, who's like their star player of everything. So
yeah,
I've got to respect what Brentford do. They're a hard team to play against, no matter who you are. And I think they give everyone, for the most part, a really good game. And we were no exception to that, unfortunately. So I think, just happy to get away with the 3 points, really, and a clean sheet as well.
Exactly. Just get in there, win, get out. Like, don't even care about how you guys necessarily played, because it's one of the difficult fixtures, I think, from a travelling perspective. But let's get into it. You kind of talked a little bit about the Ramsdale Raya stuff. This is not going to end, right?
No.
Like when we talked to Jay Harris, right, our mate Jay from The Athletic, he did say it was probably going to keep knocking on because we've obviously got the Euros next year, and Ramsdale's one of the goalies who was in the squad for previous tournaments. What did you make of his performance? Because I mentioned something to you during the game, and we talked about it a little bit then. But yeah, what did you make generally of his performance? And it seemed like everyone gathered around him at the end and stuff like that. And I've seen there's rumours now that he might go to Wolves in January on loan or something. Like generally, what do you make of his performance and the situation?
I mean, his performance is in keeping with the performance of the team. It wasn't the worst performance I've seen from him. It wasn't the best performance I've seen from him. I will say, maybe to come to his defence a little bit, he is a keeper that needs to be bedded in and to get confidence, right? I mean, we saw when he first started for Arsenal, he wasn't lighting the world on fire. He does have this kind of concentration problem. And, he made obviously that one significant error that came from what I think was just essentially indecision on his part, right? It was like, what do I do here? Do I pass it or do I boot it or do I try and flap it around a little bit and get past this defender or this attacker, I should say, that was trying to nick the ball off him. And obviously that nearly led to a goal, which could have made this whole conversation completely different, right? Had it not been for the reactions of Rice. So, I mean, other than that, he looked very shaky on the ball. Now, in the air, for other things that came up, he looked his usual self. I wasn't all that worried. But when it came to on the ball, he looks the opposite of Raya, which is Raya sometimes looks a little bit too confident on the ball, which worries me. But Ramsdale was the exact opposite. He looks shaky on the ball, especially when you pay attention to the fact that this is his first start in however many games. So I think it's all to be expected from him, really. He's low on confidence, probably low on match fitness, hasn't got his eye in properly. And you throw him into a game against Brentford, which is not an easy game to play. So it's kind of what I expected to see from him. And really, I think it probably helps the overall argument. If he had come in and absolutely had a blinder and saved us left, right, and centre, then maybe this keeps going on for even longer on who the real number one should be and all of that. I think for the most part, Arsenal fans have kind of come to the decision as a group that Raya is probably the choice to go for, or at least Raya is the choice that Arteta is going to go for. And we don't have too many arguments against it, right? We can't be like, oh no, Ramsdale is so much better than him. Why are we doing this kind of thing? So from that point of view, it kind of helps the argument that he came in and looked a little shaky, that everyone's kind of just now bedded into their position of, all right, Raya's our number one. So if he does go out on loan to Wolves, I'm not going to be all that sad, right? Like, I'm going to be sad from the perspective of, I think he has really good rapport with the rest of the team. And I think that kind of plays into the fact that everyone, not just at the end of the game, but close to the end of the match when he was just getting balls down and kind of resetting play, everyone was coming up to him, giving him a pat on the back. And then obviously at the end of the game, they did the same thing again. And I think that shows how much of a relationship the team built last season, right? And how critical he was to that. And I think people, again, it's a bit of revisionism now where everyone's like, oh, don't want Ramsdale, he's always been shaky, whatever else. But we forget that he was one of our best players last season. And I'm not going to let this whole scenario, like this whole saga of this season, completely change the history of what happened last season. He was really good. He kept us in a lot of games. Of course, he made mistakes here and there, but for the most part, he was a really good keeper. So I think the team rapport is really good with him in it. I do hope the same will happen with Raya. I'm not sure I've seen that yet, but obviously if time goes on, if we are a bit more successful, whatever it is, maybe that will happen naturally. So I think it's probably a win-win scenario if he goes out on loan. I don't want to see the back of him. I don't want us to sell him, because we also forget that he's actually still really young, right? He could, as much as everybody wants keepers to be like 22 and world class, it's a position that has always needed a lot of time and it's needed a lot of maturity, right? And you look at the best goalkeepers in the world today, yes, they're a little bit younger than they probably would have been previously. If you look at like people like Van der Sar and stuff like that, they were like later bloomers. And generally speaking, the goalkeeping position, you do get into your prime like mid-30s or early to mid-30s. So I think from that perspective, I don't want to see the back of him. I would be happy to see him go out on loan to Wolves. I don't know who we've got as the third string keeper that would be backing up Raya, but at least that would get rid of this whole saga that we've got of like, oh, it's Raya or Ramsdale who should play. So I would be happy with that. I think that would be the best situation, at least for the short term. I still wouldn't know what would happen in the long term. If you send him out on loan to Wolves, he's going to come back at some point, and then what do you do? So it's a sticky one. I think long term, he's probably going to have to leave if Raya is going to be our number one. But I'm still not convinced that Raya has 100% proved that he needs to be our number one yet. So sending him on loan to Wolves is a good short-term fix to see by the end of the season, is Raya still looking like he should be our number one? If the answer is yes, then maybe he's now proven to Wolves you need to pay some money for him. He's been good for them, whatever's happened, and we can sell him and everything's fine. If Raya is not so great, if he's having a bit, still some shakiness towards the back end of the season, maybe we say, hey, you know what? Ramsdale needs to come back and give him some more competition, because it looks like we're going to go and, do the whole 27 million thing plus the 3 that we already paid for Raya. So it looks like we're going to buy him. So maybe it'll just be a question of let's bring Ramsdale back to give him a bit more competition and make him improve himself and not get complacent. So again, long-winded answer, but that's kind of how I see things going. And I think the going to Wolves on loan or going somewhere on loan is a good short-term solution to this whole 2-keeper scenario that we've had going on for the last 13 weeks.
Man's counting on weeks now. That's how much I've been frustrating you. Man's using the weeks as the measurement. But now I can't see it, man. Like I get what you're saying. It's very level-headed, but I think there's a breakdown in what I think Arsenal fans think and what Arteta thinks. I think Arsenal fans are coming around to the idea that he's the number one, but they've still got the kind that Raya's the number one, but the door's kind of still a bit ajar, right? You need more proof from Raya, I guess. Whereas I think Arteta's made that decision. Like, he is number one. He's going to be number one. And like, you're just like, we're going to ride it out. Because I think as soon as I saw the news that he was triggering the clause and you're buying him, right? I was like, this experiment, what we think has been an experiment, is done. And maybe there was no experiment. Like, I do actually believe some of the people who've said, like, I think it's Jamie Carragher who said, there is no competition. Raya's number one. And it's quite clear from the decision that Arteta's made very early on the season by bringing him in and keeping him in the whole time. His idea the whole time was that he's number one. So I think if he does go to Wolves on loan, it might just be a temporary fix, like you say, to get him to the Euros, to try and, get him some game time so he goes to the tournament. But regardless, I reckon he'll leave in the summer. Like, I reckon there is no like medium to longer term. Obviously, if Raya maybe I don't want it to happen, touch wood, get like a serious injury, then I think that would obviously change things substantially. But if that doesn't happen, I think he's done. And it's sad because I do agree with you. I like Ramsdale. I still think he's a good goalie. I still think I completely agree with you that he needs rhythm. He needs time. So it's harsh to judge him now on what he's getting to come in every now and again to play, one game every 6 weeks or whatever. He's obviously going to be a bit all over the place because he needs to keep playing. And I think he's a really good goalie. And I think he's probably England's second best goalie when he's playing regularly. And I just don't think he's going to be at Arsenal now. And I think once he goes out on loan, you'll probably see Arsenal will bring another goalie in to be Raya's backup. And you'll have just Raya number one and whoever the new goalie is as number two. And that would be sad because, like you said, Ramsdale's got loads of potential. He'll probably smash it if he goes to Wolves, to be honest. They're quite a good team. We sing Gary O'Neill's praises, so he's probably fit in there really well. So yeah, let's see what happens though. But I agree with you. I think that's the only way this saga ends. Where it's not like you said 13 weeks, it will be 52 weeks if he stays at Arsenal. It will keep going and going and going because the media just love it, and it just seems to be something. The dad and all the other stuff that's going on around it keeps feeding it, and it's just going to keep going. So yeah, it's probably the best for everyone if he just goes out on loan or leaves the club at some point if Raya is number one. Let's get into the Havertz situation then, because obviously another player who's kind of the big Arsenal topic of most fans and media. He scored the winner, did his little celebration. He spoke, I thought, quite well after the game. Like, he looked a little bit like dead behind the eyes, but he spoke like quite well. He seemed quite. It was a very it really gave a bit of insight into the fact that he's obviously been struggling, right? And he really was happy with the fact that he could contribute to the team, and obviously all of the crap that's been said about him is obviously, I think you could see it's affected him in some way. But what did you make of the kind of Arteta put him in a headlock and dragged him over to the crowd and was celebrating with him and stuff? Do you think this is going to have an impact on him now, or do you think like some other Arsenal fans are still hammering him and still saying his shit and all this kind of stuff? What do you think this is going to do?
I mean, the place to start is the problem comes from, again, it's the disagreement between the fans, the fan base, and Arteta really on whether we needed him in the first place and whether he is the right type of player to fit our system, right? And that's where all of the furore has come from, right? Is like, if he was perfect for the system and exactly the kind of player that we were waiting for, and he just wasn't quite performing yet, there'd be no problem. I think we would give him time as a fan base. There'd be no one like crazily jumping on him. But like people like Lee Gunner and all these lot that are going in on him all the time, the reason that they're going in on him is not because he's what we want, but he's just not performing. They're going in on him as a proxy for Arteta, as like, why did we buy this guy? We didn't need this kind of player in the first place, and now you're changing the system to fit him. So really, he's kind of collateral damage for a decision that Arteta made that the fan base doesn't agree with yet. So from that point of view, I feel really bad for him because I've been going in on him. I put him as, I think he's going to be the flop of the season. And really what I'm saying that is that he's the flop of the season because of what Arteta did, right? And really the flop signing should go to Arteta. Arteta made the flop signing if he does end up not being so great for us. So from that point of view, I feel really bad for the guy, because at the end of the day, he just wants to play football. He's had an up and down time at Chelsea. He's a young man, just like a lot of players in the league, that is probably, in need of confidence, just like everyone else. His time at Chelsea wasn't exactly like great for his confidence, was it? He was up and down all the time. Chelsea fans happy to see the end, like the back of him by the end of it. So from that point of view, I feel bad for him. But I mean, if I have to say, I think, yesterday's game is going to be a complete change for the future, I'd be lying, because yes, he got the goal, but he got the goal doing something that we didn't want him, like we don't expect from him, really, right? Like our expectations have been like changing. We thought he was going to be like an 8 that would be kind of creative and attacking and great on the ball and doing this, that, and the other. We were told, or at least the media has led us to believe, that his physical attributes, his being a striker, kind of target man type of thing, is not what he wants to do and not the reason why Arteta bought him. So for him to go back post on a Saka cross and head one into the back of the net is not like, oh yeah, that's exactly what we bought him for. Yeah, great. Right? Maybe that is the reason why Arteta bought him, but it hasn't been made clear to anyone in the fan base that that's why we bought him. So from that point of view, I don't see this going to be like some, transformational moment for him or for the team. I think, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm not celebrating his goal, this, that, and the other, like Lee Gunner was, because he's still an Arsenal player and I'm going to be happy if we win, right? And it's not about my ego because I'm an idiot and went too ham on him too early, right? So it's not about me. So I'm going to celebrate his goals. I'm going to be happy for him, but I'm still going to be like, Arteta, what is the plan here? What do you want from this guy what do you want him to do in the team? Because I'm still not seeing it. And that's no fault of Havertz. It's the fault of Arteta again. So well taken goal, good movement. Once again, a great ball from Saka, who is world class.
Oh God, let's not get into that.
But I need to see more improvement from him in other areas of the pitch for me to say that this is like a transformational moment. And a quick note on the whole, like Arteta going up to him and buoying him up and making him feel good. Klopp does it to everyone. He does it to bloody Tsimikas and Dons on his bench that never even touched the field. And like. And when he does it, it's like, it's charming and, we love it. Man, let Arteta do what he's got to do, right? Like these young players today need a lot of confidence, especially when the fan base, especially Arsenal's fan base or Man United's fan base, is constantly going in on them, right? Arteta's the only one that can go and put an arm around and say, you know what? Keep doing that. Keep scoring for us. Get him in a headlock. And then he had to jump for it as well because he's about a foot shorter than him, right? So it's nice to see, right? Like man management is one of the things that I've come to believe is one of Arteta's strong suits, right? Getting the best out of young players, getting the best out of his players in general. The Ramsdale thing kind of put that in a bit of a limbo for me, but for the most part, it seems to be one of his strong suits, right? Where like talking to the media maybe isn't anymore. So from that point of view, like go ahead, go and do that, man. You need to be close with your players, and even watching this Beckham documentary. Sorrell was all over him, letting him know, like, come on, mate, you're going to be the next big thing here. So if you need that from a manager, which I think he does, and I think a lot of other players in the game today do need, then I'm happy for Arteta to do it. I hope it's effective. Yeah. But I'm not going to call him out like everyone else wants to do, right? They just pick and choose. Now I'm sure that Postecoglou's everyone's going to be making fun of him for saying mate, a couple of weeks after everyone was, going ham on how great he was. So the media are fickle, and I'm not listening to any of that bollocks about Arteta being, he's doing it for show or doing it for the cameras, like they want to say. Right?
Have people said that though?
No, but I know that they did say that about.
They said it about Pep.
They might have said it. They said it about Pep. They've said it about other managers before about like going a bit too ham. So I know it's coming. It's the same old script. It's the same old script. They just look at the situation and be like, all right, we can. If we want to go positive, we'll say that he's really nice and charming. If we want to go negative, we'll say that he's begging it for the cameras. Like it's the same thing every single time. Like you can literally write out an action that a manager might do, and then how the media want to choose where they want to go depending on who the manager is. It's so simple.
Yeah, it's like ChatGPT. It's like just an algorithm. But no, that was cracking me up because it's so funny because you obviously had the Man City Liverpool game, and at the end Nunes was trying to beef Pep, And Jurgen Klopp literally he stopped Nunes fighting Pep or arguing with Pep by hugging him. That's got to be the most Klopp thing I've ever seen in my life. Like the habitual hugger used a hug to try and stop people fighting. It was ridiculous, and people were obviously praising him and stuff. So I hear you. We've talked about it. If it's Ten Hag, if it's Arteta, people will find any excuse, any reason to try and kind of flip something from what should be a positive into a negative. I saw that and thought, well done, Arteta. Like, I don't know if it will work because, yeah, I'm not sure if I buy into the Havertz signing yet, or I'm not going to just off the one goal. But it's the right approach. You should be doing that. You scored a winning goal away at Brentford. You've gone top of the league. It was like almost last minute. It was taken really well, even though the ball from Saka was, the real deciding factor. He finished it really well from a tight angle, and he deserves some positive. He deserves some praise if he scores a winning goal. Like, it's not the time to say he's shit and he loves donkeys now. He's just scored the winning goal, so give him a bit of praise. And I think Arteta did the right thing. So I hear you completely. There's narratives for certain managers like Klopp, like Pochettino, like Pep most of the time. Postecoglou up until his recent bout of defeats, where they can't do anything wrong. And there's some managers where, because they don't maybe give the media that little bit of extra time, or give them access, or I don't know, do something that makes them feel special, and maybe they're a bit more stoic and a bit more focused on the work or their club or their players or whatever it is, which I think that's actually a trait that both Arteta and Ten Hag have. I think the media's not going to take a shine to you. I think the difference is Arteta seems to be, like you said, I agree, he hasn't had too many fallings out with your players. He obviously got rid of Aubameyang, but everyone else, there hasn't been too much, noise coming out that, he's been beefing anyone. And obviously that's the complete opposite of Ten Hag. Like, everyone has been beefing with Ten Hag. So, yeah, man, I think it was a good thing. Let's see if Havertz can at least contribute more. Because I think, it's asking too much to expect him to be a star boy. But if he can at least chip in with some goals like Trossard has, and be effective in whatever way you want to play, then I think that's... And if you guys win something, then I think it'll be worth it in the end. Will he end up being a starting 11 player and one of your key players? Maybe not, but maybe that's not what the plan is. We don't know, and I think what you said is true. Like, we don't know what the fans think, and what the managers and the staff actually think are different. They know why they're doing those things and why they're signing players, and we're just making assumptions and guesses based on what we've seen. But yeah, it's certainly got a little bit more legs, this story. I don't think the Havertz one's going to end. I think, sadly, you'll still see a lot of League Gunner reaction videos and a lot of other people's reaction videos, either praising or sticking the boot in on him because he's such a polarizing player. And yeah, Ramsdale and Havertz are your two storylines, like kind of Varane and Sancho are our two storylines now, and I don't think they'll end until we sell them. I think we probably will sell both of them, but I don't think you're going to sell Havertz, and the Ramsdale one's up in the air. So let's see how it goes. But yeah, man, I think we're 3-point collectors this week. So big up to United and Arsenal. We got the W's. Arsenal now top of the league. United are still 6th, but we are 4 points behind top 4, 2 points behind Spurs in 5th. So there's all to play for. Let's get into the previews then, because we've both got Champions League fixtures this Wednesday, I believe it is. We're travelling away to Galatasaray in a really big game for us in the group, as we sit bottom at the moment. And you guys are at home to Lens, which I believe if you win, you will have sealed first spot, and you're basically through anyway. So let's start off with the Arsenal game, because I think that was a bit more straightforward. What do you kind of predict for that fixture? Are you going for another 3 points, or do you think you might rest some players and the result might be up in the air? What do you think, Johns?
I think we will rest some players, and what I think should happen is that we win. What I think will happen again, it's always two different sides of the coin, right?
No.
What should happen versus what will happen are always two very different things. So I don't know which one I'm going to go for. I'll probably say
You're going to do Sevilla again, aren't you? And just predict losses.
No, I think we'll probably win it 2-0,
Okay.
depending on the strength of the squad. I'm not sure. Lens, maybe are they fighting for something a bit more in that group? Are they trying to go for third? Trying to go for second? Sorry.
Yeah, they're in there. They're second at the moment, and they're fighting
That
with
worries
Sevilla.
me a little bit. Then that they might put up a slightly harder fight, but I've got to think that it's at the Emirates. We will have the crowd on our side. I know that French traveling fans, just like French fans in general, are serious men and women. So I think that one could be a tricky one, but I think we tend to do a decent job of like nullifying some of that, at least so far in this Champions League campaign. So I think I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for us. And for some reason, I think Trossard is going to score again. I don't know what it is about that man, but that blonde hair,
bumhole eyes,
and bumhole eyes, yeah, he's got something about him. So I'm gonna go for a 2-0 win, and I think he'll get a goal or two.
That's something about him, is he's got bleached blonde hair and he's got bumhole eyes. That's what it is, mate. Can't put your finger on it.
Well, apparently the bleached blonde hair actually works for him, unlike bloody Ben White. So
Yeah,
I'm fine. Keep him blonde. Keep him Slim Shady for now. I'm cool with that.
You're the stand. All right, cool. I actually agree. I think Arsenal, you win. Like, I think even if you change a few players out and field a bit of a rotated team, I still think you'll win. But Lons will be up for it. So I probably think you'll win maybe 2-1 or 3-1. I think they'll probably score because they're going for it. So, and you saw from obviously the reverse fixture, they're a handy team. Their position in League On doesn't really reflect the quality of that team. So, but I think you'll win and you'll go through, and yeah, it'll be a good Champions League campaign for you. So let's talk about Galatasaray then. I have to be honest. Before this Everton result, and seeing some of the players come back and some of the individual performances, yeah, I was kind of worried about the effect of this game, the Everton game on the Galatasaray one. And, if we didn't get a good result, obviously that bleeds over into the Galatasaray one, which is obviously a really difficult place to go. But really, I think we've probably got a better chance now off the back of this result that we've just had against Everton, and the fact we've got a couple of players back. A bunch of them were able to be subbed quite early on. Luke Shaw came off early, or early-ish. Kobe Mainu came off early-ish. Garnacho, a bunch of players that are probably going to be pretty critical to the game on Wednesday came off early. So, you know what? I'm going to be brave, and I hope United are going to be brave in Istanbul. And I'm going to say 2-1 Man United, because we don't keep clean sheets in the Champions League. Like, we've kept quite a few clean sheets in the Premier League recently, but God, in the Champions League, we've just been shipping them in left, right, and centre. So it's 2-1 too low. All right. Actually, I'm going to change it. I think we'll win 3-2 because we concede goals. And so, yeah, I'm going to go 3-2 Man United, but it's going to be squeaky bum. But yeah, if we get that result, and I'm banking on Harry Kane, Sane, Musiala, and all of those guys spanking Copenhagen up, we've got a shot in that final game against Bayern, because they're not going to play any of their players, right? They better not. Tommy Tukes, do your boy a favour. Come on, mate. I'll send you a bottle of gin. I know you don't like beer. But I think we'll win, yeah. I'm going to go 3-2, but it's going to be dramatic because that's what we're like in the Champions League. But yeah, what do you think?
I'm going the other way. I think it'll be 3-2 for them.
Back us, mate. Come on, I need your support.
No, I mean, again, I think it'll be a tasty game, but I think if it's a really close game, you're not winning.
We lose them, yeah.
Because it's at Galatasaray, and yeah, it's away. I don't know if you've got the minerals yet. Right, I saw it with Onana and Maguire in that one game. I think you did show minerals there, but against Galatasaray in that stadium against that crowd, I think your chance to win is you just got to put them away early. Again, like this Everton thing, just get a couple of goals early and then try and coast from there. Try not to get anyone sent off. But if it's a close game, I don't think you win it. So, and I think it will be a close game because I'm assuming Galatasaray are trying to fight for something as well. And they've got to try and stave you off because that top spot is definitely going to Bayern. So from that point of view, I think they're going to be bloody like 300. They're going to be Gerard Butler out here going nuts on you. So I think that'll be a hard one for you. So if it's a close game, you lose it. But if it's not a close game, I think you've got a good chance of as you say going through, because I don't think Bayern will play a full strength team. And even with I'm not meaning this in a harsh way, but a second string Bayern is still not that easy.
No, I know it's not. We lost to a third string Newcastle, so we could easily get slapped. We could easily get slapped by
seven fullbacks.
Exactly. We could easily get slapped by a second string Bayern, right? But I just think if we win that Galatasaray game, the boost that it will give us,
you'll be running off something strong
into the Munich game. I think we'll be able to get through it. But yeah, just to to add more, information around that. Rashford's going to be suspended. I think Bruno's also suspended.
Oh, yeah.
So Rashford and Bruno out. Ooh. Boy, I might have gone too far with that, but you never know. I'm not sure on the Bruno one, but Rashi's obviously definitely out because he got the red card in the last game. So
one silver lining might be is if you do have to play a bunch of youngsters don't tend to crumble. Generally speaking, youngsters play like they don't know necessarily the importance of the occasion. So maybe they'll be loving it. And if you've got Mainu and you've got some of these other players playing, they look like they might be able to carry you through a difficult one. So I actually think that could bode well for you because the crumblers, no offense to your team, but are the ones that have been playing most of the time.
Yeah.
If you get some of the youngsters in that are too naive to really know the size of the occasion, I think they could carry you through a tough one actually.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And we may have Højlund back for that. So you actually might see Martial go to left wing, Højlund go up front, Garnacho go on the right. And then you've still got some attacking threat. And I mean, Højlund's been banging them in the Champions League. So that's the hope that he continues doing that. But yeah, let's go to the Prem. We'll stick with United. Bloody hell. I didn't even realise we had this one. We've got Newcastle away.
Good luck, mate.
Who gave us these bloody fixtures? What have you done to us? You've given us bloody Everton away after 10-point penalty, Galatasaray away in bloody Istanbul, and then we've got Newcastle away.
You can't play Luton every week, mate. You can't play Luton.
Give us Luton every week, mate. That's our rivals. That's what you said last time. So yeah, I'll stick with that. Give us Luton. We could barely beat them, but yeah, Newcastle away. Fuck me, that's going to be a difficult one. So yeah, I really thought they were struggling, but Newcastle they're an enigma. They're either like really dangerous and they will just take someone like Chelsea and slap them about, or get a big win against you guys, even if it was a bit dodgy, or they like crumbling against Liverpool, crumbling against, was it Brighton or Villa? One of those two absolutely battered them. Crumbling at Bournemouth. They're all over the shop. So, and don't forget, they've got a huge game on Tuesday away at PSG. And I feel like they're going to take L's both on and off the pitch in Paris on Tuesday. So I don't know if that's good or bad. But you know what? F this. I'm going to go big again. And I'm going to say Newcastle 1, Man United 2. But I'm just trying to give good vibes. We most likely will lose that game, but I'm not going to predict it. We're going to win, and it's going to be Viva Garnacho all over again. I'm not going to say he's going to hit a scissor kick or an overhead kick, but I reckon he'll score again in that game. And we'll win 2-1. But yeah, John, proceed to tell me that's rubbish and that Newcastle will win, please.
I'm going to say it all depends on if I think his name is Yasser Al-Rumayyan is there, because whenever he's there, they win. I don't know what dirt he's got on some of these players, but every time he's there, next to crazy dollface lady, they win. So if he's there, you lose. I don't know what's going to happen or how it will happen, but you lose. But I think, like speaking seriously, I'm going to say, I think it will be a draw, I'm going for one side or the other. I think I know you don't draw, but I think you also don't score overhead kicks in the third minute either. So from that point of view, no, you do now, exactly. But no one said that you were going to do that before that, right? So if that's happening, then all bets are off. So I'm going to say it's like a 5-5 draw. No, I think it might be a boring one. I think it could be like a 1-0 or something like that. I think you guys will be, depending on how that Galatasaray game goes, you guys will either be running off of something, some real happy feelings. But I think at the same time, if Rashford can't play in the Champions League and Bruno can't play in the Champions League, they get a little bit of rest. Yeah. They're important players for you. They come back against Newcastle, who are still having a lot of injury problems, regardless of these last couple of weeks. They've still got injury problems, right?
River, cry me
I know,
a
but
river.
no, I mean, like, that helps you because you're playing a slightly
lost to their C team.
Yeah, but imagine if you had played their A team, they would have beaten you 11-0. So yeah, I think that plays into your hands a little bit. So it's a tough one though, because again, St. James's Park is a humbler. It's not a fun place to go, and I think maybe your traveling fans I think they've been rated as the best traveling fans, right? Because you guys go a bit mental, but I think it's still a hard place to go. So I think yeah, you do love a scrap. So I think it will be a draw. I'm going for a draw.
All right, fair enough. We've got a draw at some point in the season, and after both teams are playing in Champions League, you could be right. And I think Newcastle's recent results, the positive ones, have been a bit misleading. Like they've either received some like quite favourable decisions in your game, or, for example, yesterday Thiago Silva decided he's just going to faff about and give them a bunch of goals, which is very unlike him. So, yeah, we'll see. We've got players that do that too, though. So let's see how Onana's feeling, how Maguire's feeling, how a bunch of our players are feeling on that day. And yeah, fingers crossed. I wouldn't be mad at a draw. I'll be real. I'd be happy with that. You guys, I think you're the early kickoff on Saturday, which is a bit harsh of the Premier League to give you that if you're playing on Wednesday in the Champions League. But yeah, you're home.
There are no rules.
Yeah, they don't.
There's no rules.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't seem to care. You're playing Wolves at home, Gary O'Neill. I've got to admit, I bloody love Wolves. So, it'll be a good game. What do you think? Do you think you're going to get the win?
I'm going to keep on saying that we're going to perform well until we do it. So we're going to win 3-0. I'm just going to keep on doing it because these are the expectations that I have, and they have to be met at some point or another. We can't just keep on bloody struggling through these games. So as much as I love Gary O'Neill too, and as much as Wolves have thrown a spanner in the works against a lot of big teams so far this season, I think we'll beat them 3-0.
Fair enough. I think Wolves away are a different proposition though.
True.
Wolves at home are rough, but Wolves away, they're I don't think they travel as well. So yeah, I think you're probably right. I think you guys will win 2-0 or 2-1. I don't think you'll batter them because I think at home you've been better in the Champions League at home than you actually have, in the league. But I think Wolves won't have enough because I just think they're one of those teams. They'll rise to the occasion at home and they'll get the crowd behind them. But you never know, man, because Gary O'Neill's a top coach. We've sung his praises a lot of times, so he might come up with a plan that he could sit in a low block and make it really difficult for you. And
I'm banking on the fact that they haven't got a proper finisher outside of Hwang Hee-chan. No one else really in there is as clinical as they should be. And I'm looking at you, Matheus Nunes. Matheus Cunha. Sorry. Matheus Nunes has gone to the Man City. I'm not looking at you anymore, mate.
Who are you looking at? Mate?
I hate you now, mate. But I think Cunha misses a lot. So I'm hoping that he is on the same form that he's usually on, where he just does everything and then skies it or something.
You've jinxed it now. This is definitely a Matheus Cunha.
I might put him in my FPL team as like a backup just in case.
Some coverage, but no, I think you guys will win. 2-1 or 2-0. But Wolves, good team. So big them up. Hope they do well tomorrow. They're going to play Fulham, I think, tomorrow in the Monday night game. So good luck to them. All right, so those are the predictions. At some point, we're going to have to do a prediction league and give one of us a prize or the other one a forfeit, a challenge to do if they lose, because we do this every week. And to be honest, I can't even bloody remember half my predictions half the time. So we need to try and find.
All I know is that I'm mostly wrong.
Yeah. I don't think come on, mate. I predicted Copenhagen 5-0. Come on.
I think if there was a forfeit at play, I think we'd be a bit more rational.
Yeah, but I mean, like at the end of a season, gather up the points, but we can PK against each other, and whoever has less points does a forfeit, something like that. But let's see. Hopefully, all of those results come in, or predictions come in the way we've predicted them. Because I don't think we've predicted any of. Oh, you predicted us to lose at Galatasaray, so let's hope that doesn't come true. But all the other ones are positive results for our teams, I think. So let's hope and pray that they come through, and you guys stay top, and we try and crack into that top 4, which will be amazing. But yeah, thanks. I think we'll wrap up this podcast here, Johns. I know you're feeling a bit under the weather. I'm not feeling fantastic either, so this hasn't been one of our more kind of vivacious episodes. But hopefully, it's been a good one anyway. And we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks, Johns.
Cheers, Ant. Cheers, everyone.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.